you jumping on, man. I've been wanting to talk to you for a while. Obviously, you jumped at this fight really quickly, and we appreciate that. It was kind of a done deal, signed, sealed, and delivered kind of instantly between you and Ethan. Both agreed. We talked to Ethan before on the podcast, which made us, even more hype because he's excited to fight you. I'm sure you're excited to fight him, man. What was it?
Yeah.
Just right off the bat, when you get presented a name like Ethan Goss for the title, like what was your initial reaction? What made you want this fight?
I mean, I've never really heard of him just because I'm not from Pittsburgh and everything. But it was more just an opportunity to get another fight going quick right after my other one, and also like a title opportunity. So I looked him up, and felt like it was a good fair matchup for both of us. So I was like, yeah, why not? Let's do it. So
Nice. Yeah, I felt like an idiot, man. I'm not gonna lie, because Ethan said that you were Brian Barberena's brother, and that was the first time that I knew. I didn't even know that. Like the fight was signed and we were promoting the fight and stuff, and I didn't even realize you were his brother.
yeah,
But that's crazy, man. So obviously fighting runs in the blood, man. I used to work for Flow Sports, Flow Combat, and we talked to Brian at the MMA lab back in like 2017, I want to say, man. We did an awesome interview with him, and I loved that dude from that minute. So it obviously, a lot of respect for you guys and the family and what you've done. But what's it been like having a brother, achieving at the highest level at the UFC? It feels like forever. 2017, I think, is when we did that interview, but it just feels like he's been around forever at this point. So what's the journey been like for you, having a brother like that and seeing that, that's the goal, I assume.
yeah. I mean, that's definitely my goal is to reach it there. But I guess having a brother like that, he's just it's somebody that I could look up to and see him doing it, knowing that it's possible to do it, and he's basically done it right. Which we have different stories and live different lives, kind of thing. So it's been a little different, a little rockier for me to actually be able to train and stuff. Also with my other career. So, but yeah, I mean, going to his fights motivates me and the way he fights and everything. So it's always been awesome, I guess, to have an older brother that's also doing it and doing it big. So it's great.
Yeah. Yeah, never been in a boring fight. Like I said, I became an instant fan after talking to him at MMA Lab that day. I mean, the mentality is so on point, and I expected exactly the same from you. You guys just seem like super tough dudes. I was looking at your record, watching some old fights, and it's very apparent that both of you have that. You got to kill me to get me out of here. Like, unless you kill me, I'm in this fight. Like, if I'm conscious, I'm in this fight. Like, that's the most dangerous kind of guy ever to fight. So where does that come from, man? Did you guys scrap a lot growing up? Did you have like a tough family upbringing, or where does that kind of fighter instinct come from for you, do you think?
I'd say my dad kind of brought us up that way to just be tough, and wasn't necessarily super hard on us, but made us always stick up for each other, never let each other get bullied, kind of thing. And then, yeah, we would always just wrestle and fight as kids, not like, fight each other, but play rough. And growing up with two brothers, I have a twin brother also who fought and was pro also, but he retired because he just wasn't doing it anymore. But yeah, just, I guess we just grew up always together and playing hard and just made us like that. And my dad's always told us, we're warriors, and he was from Colombia. So he had a tough upbringing and kind of made us tough, I guess. Always told us about fights and fighting and what's right, what's wrong. And no matter what people think, sometimes you have to fight, even though people think it's wrong. But
Yeah.
so,
It's a crazy mentality, man, but I think it's one thing to be, a tough group of brothers. Everybody went to high school with somebody like this, I'm sure, the tough kids that you just don't mess with or whatever you want to say. But it's something totally different to forge successful professional careers in mixed martial arts. So when did it turn from just being tough kids to we're training to be actual fighters now? Like, did you wrestle in high school, or what's the actual combat sports background for you
so
particularly?
for me, I had a hard time at school. So I used to get in a lot of fights and stuff. And just, I don't know, I was kind of hot headed, but I wasn't a bully. I would always end up, somebody would say something and just get into it with people. So I was kind of the hothead, and I would get in a lot of street fights. Brian was more of like an athlete, and my twin brother was just always stuck in the middle of all of it.
Nice.
So yeah, but I wrestled for a season in high school, and then kind of was in and out with stuff going on with family. And then after high school, Brian actually moved to Minnesota with his wife, and he started training, and he had his first amateur fight. And I wanted to fight. We all were talking, and all through high school too. It's kind of like what we were always good at. Even though Brian was a good at like football player, good athlete, I wasn't, so I always wanted to be a fighter. But we were all talking up there and started doing it, and then I asked him to move there with him, and he was like, yeah. And then Cody moved out there, and we all just started training and fighting, and that's kind of how it.
It's pretty sick to watch the journey play out, man, for all you guys. Obviously, I'm not as familiar with Cody, but it sounds like he dabbled in the pro ranks as well, which people underestimate. I think, a lot of people underestimate what that means, man. To be a professional fighter, there's a lot to it, especially, being on this side of the promotion game. When you see everything that goes into literally just making that walk to the cage, it's an investment just to even get in there before the fight starts. You got to be 100% committed. There's a lot of paperwork, a lot of training, a lot of you're in pain for, however long your camp is, you're in pain for that whole camp. And then you got to fight at the end of it. So just massive respect for that and what you've been able to do with your career. But it does seem, man, that you're kind of on a heater here. I haven't obviously followed your career super closely, but I have watched a lot of footage in the meantime and kind of done my research. And it really looks like you're coming into your own here, man. How would you describe your game, for our fans that maybe aren't as familiar with you?
I would say, you said in the beginning, like I'm going to be in his face and I'm not going to, just go in there and lay over. He's going to have to finish me, or we're going to go to a decision with all out war. Like I'm just that kind of fighter. I'm not going to say or try to live up to my brother, but I would say that I'm also tough, and I'm going to leave it all in there. So it's pretty much that.
That's awesome. I'm going to play a clip here for you and for everybody. I don't know if you saw it, but Ethan Goss, we had him on the podcast, and actually when we asked him about you, I liked what he said. So I wanted to play it for you and then see what you think.
Cool.
Basically, like I said, I was being nice, saying about the James Adcock when you guys asked me about that one. This one, I'm not sugarcoating. I'm being completely honest with you. Kevin is a tough dude. He just beat Jeffrey Holmes at 155 pounds, which Jeffrey Holmes is a veteran. He's been around just as long or longer than I have. And Jeff Holmes is a very good wrestler. Kevin has fought Dennis Paiva, or however you say his name, for CES, who was, considered one of the top 10 guys in the nation at one point. Kevin's a dog, man. And I seen it in his fight with Jeff. Like, he's a dog because Jeff was putting it on him. And, Kevin came back and was able to get the finish and get the win. So I'm expecting a dog fight.
Yeah.
Pretty accurate assessment from Ethan, you think?
Oh, yeah. Yep, definitely.
It's cool to hear him talk about that he sees the same things instantly, watching tape. I think that's pretty special for a fighter, man, to this regional footage, it's sometimes hard to find footage on your opponents, but you've been in those larger scale, like he mentioned, CES and everything. You've been in those larger scale kind of regional fights right on the cusp of that, Bellator UFC opportunity that a lot of guys look for. Is that your goal right now? Is that where your head's at, kind of win the belt here and then hopefully get that call? Or where are you at right now in your career goals wise?
Goals wise, my goal is just to beat, Goss when I go down there right now. I don't stress it anymore. I used to be real big on, like, got to make it. I got to keep training and I got to get there, but now I'm just like, man, I love this. I'm doing it. I'm still living the journey, still living the life. I don't stress it anymore. I don't need the money. I don't need the fame. I don't need any of that. I do it because I love it and it's fun. It's a challenge and I enjoy it. So right now, my goal is, it'd be nice to get there. I want to get there. But right now I just need to beat Ethan Goss and go from there. And, with him saying I'm tough and all that, he's right, but overlooking him either. Like, he's tough. He's a veteran in the sport. And people could look on paper and, his record, my record, whatever. Like my coach says, records are for DJs. Like, it doesn't matter. We're both tough. And we're both going to bring it. And I think this fight could be a fight of the night for sure.
I'm 100% stealing that line from your coach, dude. I love that. Records are for DJs. That's classic. And it's so true, man. We encounter this a lot, obviously being a promotion, we see a lot of hot up and coming amateurs that seem terrified to take that first loss, to take that challenge that they might lose. We see this a lot with guys and we stress to them every time. We actually talked to Ethan about it on that podcast, given his record, just like you said. losing is not the end of the world in MMA. Like, every great fighter loses at some point. It's not about that. It's guys like you, guys like Ethan that have that experience. Those are the guys that are truly ready for that next level because they've got that seasoning. I feel like as a fighter, it's easy for me to say from the outside, but you need that test, because if the first time you feel somebody that's your equal or better is in the cage as a pro, you're screwed, man. Like, that's a bad time to experience it for the first time, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So what was your journey like up to pro? I couldn't find much on your amateur background, obviously, but how quickly did your career kind of develop into the pro ranks, and how quickly did you get to where you are today?
I mean, it took I had my first fight at like 18 or 19. I won 3 in a row, and then I lost one, which was close. I mean, it could have went either way. And then I went pro after that, and I actually lost my pro debut, which made me get everything back in check. But and I kind of started climbing from there. But I mean, it was hit and miss. Sometimes I'd win, sometimes I'd lose, and I took them hard at first, but the longer you're in this, the more you realize, you don't really lose. Like, you just learn from every fight that you have. And, whether he wins or I win, I don't expect it to be a boring fight. So it's probably going to be one that we both just win in general. Like, there really is no loser when they're exciting ass fights,
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. We stress that to everybody. I mean, Ethan's last fight in August was our fight of the year contender. Like, I don't know if you've watched the tape of that fight he had against Skylar Sudo, but it was arguably our fight of the year. Everybody that saw it loved it. And that's kind of Ethan's thing. And that's what excited us so much whenever we dug into your footage and started learning more about you. It's like we found, this Kentucky Ethan Goss. It's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're in Corbin, Kentucky right now? Because I did see, Arizona listed. I wasn't sure if that was MMA Lab once I connected the dots. What's your journey training wise right now?
So right now I'm in Corbin, Kentucky, and I'm training out of Carlson Gracie, Corbin, which was Corbin Martial Arts. They just moved locations and changed the name. Some changes happened, but originally I'm from Arizona. I moved to Minnesota, born in California. I've been all over the place, man. But I lived in Arizona for a long time and went to high school there, and moved back there and trained there. I did train at the MMA for here and there, a month or two, whatever. But I never really stuck around there. But yeah, Brian was out of the lab for a long time. I moved out to Kentucky for work. I worked for the Forest Service doing wildland fire, and I got a permanent job opportunity out here, so I came out for that, and then just found a gym. And luckily it was a decent gym right here in this little town. Yeah. And I lucked out, and everything's been going great. During COVID and all that, I was on the bench for a little bit I was staying active. That's another thing I have to say about Goss. We're veterans, and we've also been around when everything was shut down, trying to make things happen, and I think that shows a lot for both of us also. Like, most guys just were like, oh, I'm done. Or, people were just like, oh, I'll fight later. Like, I trained multiple camps with canceled fights during that time. So I haven't been I was on the sidelines, but I was still ready, So
yeah. No, that's so true. I don't know, like, if you saw this about Ethan or watched the podcast, but he was booked actually to fight in February, and his opponent ended up taking a fight for Bellator instead. So he's kind of done a double camp of sorts for this fight as well, which again, I hate to just like beat this drum of you guys being mirror images, but what you just said perfectly reflects that. Like, both of you guys are always ready. The fans definitely don't need to worry about you and either one of you being unprepared or wherever the fight goes. This is going to be a good fight, and I think that's what's so exciting for fans.
Yeah, for sure. He's definitely he's well rounded. He's got good stand up and good jiu-jitsu. It looks like he has good wrestling too. So yeah, it could really go anywhere. It's going to be a fight in every aspect. So I'm ready for it. So
I love it, man. And I don't know if you knew this, but we've actually only ever crowned 2 other pro champions before. And one was Kama Worthy. And right after he got our belt, he went to the UFC. And then the other one was John DeJesus. And right after he got our belt, he went to Bellator. So it's not a fit. It's not like we have, direct contact with Bellator and the UFC, but it is pretty clear that, like, when you win our pro belt, they notice. So we look at this bout as, a potential launching pad for whoever wins it is probably going to take that next step, which you guys would deserve. Whichever one of you wins that, it would be super well deserved. So have you looked at it in that context? Do you think about it that way, or are you just looking at, Ethan's the challenge ahead of me and we'll figure it out after that?
Yeah, I can see the opportunity and I'm grateful for it. But yeah, I mean, I'm ultimately just, looking at it as I just got to beat him, and then, we'll see what comes from there. And if it happens, great. That'd be awesome. But if not, then on to the next one.
Sure. Does Brian, being such a UFC staple at this point, like I said, it feels like he's been there forever now. Does that kind of make you want to lean to go to the UFC, or are you just kind of grateful for whatever would come?
Yeah, I'd be grateful for whatever would come. I guess I'm just ready to fight anywhere. It doesn't really matter to me. I like to go to the UFC. I think that'd be best for the UFC also, and me, to promote that and everything. But yeah, I mean, if I went to Bellator, I'd be fine with that too. I mean, both are top level organizations and with the top guys in them. So
Sure.
yeah, I'm happy with either one.
Nice. Yeah, I really liked something that Ethan said as well when he mentioned, Denise Paiva and your fight with him. I think people underestimate it's exactly your coach saying, records are for DJs. But like if people really dig into your record, they'll see that you only lost to, very high quality guys, and there's no shame in that at all. What does that do for your confidence coming into this fight, knowing that you've seen the super high level pro fighter that there is to see? You've felt that inside the cage. You've had that experience. What does that do for your confidence coming into this one?
I mean, yeah, confidence is at an all-time high. I feel good. I feel ready. And yeah, having that experience with those guys, I mean, every time I fight, I'm like, well, is he going to hit as hard as this guy? Is he going to out wrestle me like this guy did? Like, I mean, I've been there with those guys, so I know, capabilities of people, and every fight's different, but yeah, I mean, you have those in your back pocket kind of thing, So
Nice.
it gives me confidence that, there's nothing I haven't faced or seen yet that I should be worried about, kind of thing.
For sure. That makes perfect sense, man. I gotta ask you about this. I'm gonna share my screen real quick. Something from your Instagram that definitely caught my eye. Nothing bad at all, I promise. But that's a Pittsburgh Pirates hat. Like, what's the Pirates hat all about?
Yeah. So I was born in Pomona, California, and then I lived in Prescott, Arizona for a long time. So I always just rocked the P. And then my brother Cody, he's a Pittsburgh Steelers fan with football. So I've just always
That's awesome.
worn it. But
See, I was hoping that we could do like, as a promoter, of course, we want the out of town guy. We want the crowd, to be all fired up, local versus out of town. But you're wearing a Pirates hat and you said your brother's a Steelers fan. Like, now they're going to love you too. Like, what are they going to do?
yeah, dude, everybody was joking around too, like, because I fought Jeff Holmes and he had a big old Steelers tattoo, and they're like, man, what's up with you and Pittsburgh guys? Like, Pennsylvania guys. I'm like, I don't know, dude. It just keeps happening.
You can't escape, man. It's meant to be. You're meant to fight here in Pittsburgh. So we're definitely grateful to have you, man. That's funny though. How'd your brother become a Steelers fan? That seems super random.
Yeah, we were just, I don't know, watching football as kids, and he just ended up liking the Steelers. So I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan. So
there you go. Now they hate you again. Don't worry, you're good now.
I like the Steelers too. Just support my brother, but
yeah, that's funny, man. So the Pirates, though, that's a tough team to root for these days. Do you still kind of follow baseball closely? You still root for them?
I do if it's on. I don't follow it too much anymore. I hardly even watch football anymore. I'm just too busy with work and training and everything and family. So.
Yeah, Ethan balances the same stuff, man. I said, like, it's kind of creepy actually how mirror image you guys are in all these regards as far as work, family, fighting at a high level, staying active. How have you learned to balance that? Because I know a lot of fighters struggle right off the bat. You'll see guys, turn down fights because they can't get off work or they don't want to get off work, because you got to choose one or the other at some point, and balancing it for a long time is just super tricky, man. I've seen it with so many fighters that can't figure out that balance. So how have you made it work? What have you kind of learned to help you balance the two worlds?
I mean, I guess it's just the mental toughness I've built up over the years of having to do it. Before it would be fire seasons, I try not to take fights during the fire season because out west it's a lot busier and you're staffed with work. But I'd always just go to the gym after fires or after work, late nights, and I had a few people that would actually stick it out with me, and they'd train, and I just made it work. And now I do the same thing. Like right now, it's fire season. I've worked 12 days straight, and I'm still going. So
That's crazy.
it's tough on the family, it's tough on the kid, tough on my fiance, but we're all in this together, and we support each other, and yeah, we're making it happen. And it's a whole nother mental toughness that I think adds to my game that makes it easier for me when I'm in the gym for sure. So
yeah, you kind of stole where I was going to go with that next question. Just hearing you describe it made me think that there probably is a connection. Do you feel when you're in the cage that you've just sacrificed too much to give up? Because we've talked about how it's a common theme in your fight style that you gotta kill you to get you out of there. That's the only way to finish. Like if you don't finish Kevin Barberena, he's in the fight. Do you feel that actively when you're in the cage? Like, man, I've sacrificed way too much. I've worked way too hard. I'm not quitting. Is it a conscious decision or is it just like instinct for you?
I feel like it's more like instinct. Like I never really think about it when I'm in there, but it's just so instilled, I think, in me that, I just keep going. But definitely out on the outside, like I think about it like, man, I'm putting in all this time at work, and then I go to the gym, and then I come home and I have, 30 minutes to an hour if I want to, go a little off my schedule and lose sleep to spend time with my fiance and kid. But yeah, I think it just makes me that much tougher and that much more of a grinder.
Sure. Man, massive respect. Like I said earlier, I think people really underestimate what it takes to be a pro fighter, even to be an amateur fighter as well. These guys are going through it just to even get to the cage. Everything that happens before the cage, it's almost a cliche in MMA. A lot of people say, 90% of the work happens before you get to the cage, but it's so true, and we've seen it time and time again. So when you get a guy like you, 13 pro fights deep on the cusp of, maybe something really special happening here, just massive respect from our end, man. We appreciate you taking this fight, and we genuinely can't wait to see the show that you guys are going to put on because we think this is just a banger matchup top to bottom.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. I'm excited to go down there and fight for everybody.
No doubt,
man. Might be hurt feelings or whatever, but I hope it's, it's nothing personal. So
that's definitely one thing that's interesting, man. I think our audience and Ethan especially, we kind of understand the game. It's not personal. We get that. Like you have an opportunity in front of you to win the title just the same as Ethan does. Ethan's the local guy, but clearly we did not give him a cake matchup to win the belt. Like we're not trying to just set him up to win the belt. We're trying to set up the best man in the region who deserves that shot at the next level is going to win the belt. And we think we found that matchup with you, man. So it's super exciting for us as promoters. Obviously, I think fans are in for a real treat with this fight, man. I highly encourage anybody listening to this that hasn't seen Kevin fight to look up some of his fights on YouTube. I could try to sell the fight right now. I could try to cut a promo or whatever, but I'm not going to. I'm going to just say, go watch his fights. and that's all you need to do. You'll be sold as soon as you go watch his fights. So, man, I want to give you the floor here for any sponsors, anybody you want to thank leading into this fight. Go ahead and give them some shine.
All right. I want to thank my gym, Carlson Gracie Corbin, 606, Scott Hope, Mike Douglas, all my training partners, Justin Woolley, my brothers, my mom, my dad, my sister, my fiance, and my son, especially because they deal with all of it. All my coworkers, all the guys on my engine at work, they all put up with me also and go a little harder in, the PT aspect. But just, everybody, my family and my friends, my fans, love you guys. Thank you. And we're going to ride this till the wheels fall off.
No, man, that's beautiful. I freaking love it, man. I appreciate the time immensely. I thought that was going to be the end, but I did have one more question for you that I didn't want to gloss over. But Brian, I don't want to, ride the Brian being your brother train too much, but him getting that big win recently, UFC Columbus, what's that like? Because we always hear people say it's more nerve-wracking to watch your significant other fight than to fight yourself, or to watch a brother fight than to fight yourself. Do you feel that too? Like when he's fighting, do you get more nervous watching him than when you're actually fighting?
Oh yeah, it's way worse. Way worse.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, knowing my brother, it's always like lately his fights have been just nail biters. You're just like, fuck, is he gonna win? He's like, come on, dude. And then he starts going at the end, and you're just like, keep going, But I love it. Those are the best fights to watch, and he's my favorite fighter, pretty much. Yeah, and it's nerve-wracking, but at the same time, I know the drill. I know what's going on in there. Every time he takes a step in the cage, it could go either way, and it is what it is. It's not personal, but I know when he gets in there, they're not just going to walk out of there like nothing, So
Exactly. I mean, and yeah, and I don't mean to just harp this theme, but you talk about Brian versus Matt Brown, you versus Ethan. Like, talk about another mirror image. Like everybody knew Brian Barberena versus Matt Brown was going to be that kind of awesome fight. Like, that was the can't miss fight on the card, and he came in, beat the hometown guy. So there's a lot of similarities there too, and just in terms of the matchup and being what Brian had to overcome and wanted a close decision at that in Matt's hometown. So that was big, man. So did that give you extra confidence? Does it like fire you up a little more, Brian, coming off a win, just give you a little extra pep in your step?
Oh yeah, it definitely does make me feel confident about everything, and that I'm doing the right things too, and watching him go in there, and everybody booing him, and like sitting there and damn, this is crazy, like there's so many people here just against him, and then that cage door shuts and it's just them two, and he just did his thing, and like that's what really motivates me, is that you could have everybody in the world against you, but when it comes down to just you and that guy, that's all that matters. You know what I mean? So
that's it, man. That's what makes. Yeah, that's what makes it one of the most beautiful sports on earth, man. Yeah, like you said, you can have all the grudge, you can talk all the smack, it can be this and that before the fight, but at the end of the day, man, it's one man versus another man in there, and that's it. So it's always awesome to watch. Is he going to corner you on the 16th? I didn't even consider this, but is he going to be there, or you got other?
I don't think he's actually going to make it there, but we'll see. It's on the fence right now. So
nice. Well, if he's there, man, we'll do something special for him, announce something for him being there. We would definitely respect the hell out of that. And I personally would just like to see him again, because like I said, it's been probably 5 years. He probably doesn't even remember the interview, but that's fine. I do.
yeah, for sure. Real quick, I'll say thank you to Loughran's Boxing, also my team over there in London, Kentucky. So
nice. Love it, man. We're like I said, dude, I was already super hyped for this fight, but just talking to you took me to another level. We appreciate you being, not that we ever doubted it, but you've been such a pro with all the paperwork, everything that needs done, just getting everything done, getting everything in order, man. It's awesome to work with fighters like you, and definitely Ethan is cut from that same cloth. I think in a different life, I really think you guys would be like best friends. Like, you guys are super similar, and I'm excited to watch you fight, but hopefully after the fights you guys can share a beer or something, because I think that will be well deserved.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, it's not personal, so I probably will have a beer with them.
I love the sounds of that, man. I'll let you get back to your family and your life, man. We will see you on April 15th for weigh-ins, and then April 16th co-main event, featherweight title, man. It's going to be a great night.
Yeah, it is. Thank you. Appreciate it.
For sure, man. Take care, brother.
You too.